Well, I got some bad news for you, and I got some good news. The bad news is that this will be the last sermon I ever preach here at Mount Olivet, because the good news is I won the Powerball. When did you realize I was joking? I think those of you who know me best could feel it somewhere in the setup. But it is important to me that you all understand I was joking. Those of you who were here for the fake capital campaign fiasco from the Reformation Day sermon will understand how important that is. We got emails then. I do not want to get emails now. So this was a joke. And of course it's a joke. I'll never leave here. I legally changed my middle name to Mount Olivet. If I won the lottery, I'd just work here for free and arrive in a slightly nicer Subaru. But I bet, as preposterous as this is, that you believed the bad news, at least for a heartbeat, until you heard the good news, right? And then you realized the whole thing was absurd. That's how our brains work as humans. We are hardwired to trust bad news and to be skeptical of good news. You've all heard the saying, well, that's too good to be true. None of you have ever heard anyone say, it's too bad to be true. That saying doesn't exist. Instead, we might say, it can always get worse. Because humans are bad news creatures. And this is a bad news world. Look at every headline and every ticker on every cable news channel. Look at the last 10 stories shared on social media from your preferred news outlets. We have a bizarre appetite for bad news, and the world feeds that and encourages it. This is the Good Friday versus Easter experience. Did you hear? They crucified him. Yeah, he's dead. Oh, well, of course he is. Why did we get our hopes up? We should have known better. There's no way he was going to be the Messiah. Oh, wait, we're getting reports now that the tomb is empty and he is risen. I don't know. I'm not so sure. I'd have to see him myself. He'd have to stand right here. I'd like to shake his hand and feel the holes the nail made myself. We get Good Friday. The crucifixion, death, disappointment. That's the world we live in. That's the air we breathe, the reality we easily accept. Easter is much harder. It's not just us, by the way. This is not just a modern problem. The earliest Jesus followers, Christ's own disciples, were afflicted with the same condition. As early as the 2nd chapter in John's Gospel, Jesus tells his disciples, destroy this temple, and I will raise it up on the 3rd day. In chapter 10, he tells them, I have the power to lay down my life and the authority to take it up again. He's telling them the good news in advance. But here in our reading this Easter morning, we see that even the faithful Mary Magdalene, even Peter, the rock on whom Christ says he will build his church, even figures such as these come to the tomb expecting only to find a dead body. They're just being realistic, right? For a bad news world, Easter feels like impossibly good news. And the good news of Easter is not just that Christ triumphed over sin and death and the power of the grave like 2,000 years ago. It's that he shares that victory with you today, freely. You get the spoils of Christ's Easter victory as a pure gift. And what are those spoils? Total forgiveness, perfect grace, the promise of a life eternal shared with Christ. What do we do with that? Impossible, unacceptable, unbelievable good news. Well, we do something really human, don't we? We're tempted to make it a little less good. Well, sure, there's forgiveness, but only if you really work for it and make yourself worthy of being forgiven, and most people can't. Those people for sure can't. Well, yes, there's grace, but you got to earn it, so it's not really grace. Yes, it's true there is life with Christ, but there's also eternal torture, and that's what you're more likely to get. We take the divine, astonishing good news of Easter and drag it down and make it as palatable and comprehensible as possible for our bad news brains. Let's not do that this year. This year, let's fight against our human tendencies and let the good news just be good news. Let it disrupt this bad news world and turn it upside down. Let's share the good news ourselves and live like this good news has shaped our hearts and changed our lives. Let's live like we dare to believe it, in other words. Well, how do you do that? What does that look like? It looks like coming here, like you've done, and regularly hearing a message from this pulpit over and over about God's great and unconditional love for you. It means hearing over and over about the wild, free gift of grace. It means coming here and miraculously, wondrously hearing Jesus call you by name, just as he called Mary by name in our reading and changed her life. And then it's about going back out through those doors and reflecting and extending that love to the world around you, at home, at work, at school, in the grocery store, even on the road in rush hour. It looks like cultivating a spiritual sense that what you have been given freely, you can share freely and abundantly. We do not need to hoard God's grace for ourselves. There is enough and plenty for our neighbors and even for our enemies. There is no need, absolutely no need, to turn the good news of Easter into bad news for anyone else. I know it's hard to believe it, but he is risen. And that is just pure good news, people. So go forth and come back and be good news people. Amen.